Hello everyone, welcome to another GOG.com tweak guide. This time we're looking at Medal of Honor Allied Assault Warchest. 3 games in 1. Comes with the standard Allied Assault, but also with Spearhead and Breakthrough. Now, this is quite a long video, very technical, lots of tweaks, especially to do with the graphics, so be a little bit patient. I think it's worth it. It's a pretty good game, and once it's tweaked, it runs actually really well, even on a modern Windows 8.1 machine running 64-bit version of Windows. A special shout out to this person here from the GOG.com forums. He helped me get my head around tweaking the graphics, so a lot of what I do is based on his information. You can also, however, go to my website where I got the drivers to download and all the tweaks for copy and pasting, so fairly straightforward. I've got a little cheat sheet to make sure I cover everything, and we're going to start with the driver tweaks. So on an NVIDIA card, right click and go to the NVIDIA control panel. If you've got an AMD card, I believe it's called Catalyst Control Center. I'll put in a screenshot so you know what the equivalent screen is. Go to Manage 3D Settings and find the game. It's called Medal of Honor Allied Assault. It has a profile for each, even for the 2 expansions. So you have to make this. You have to do this tweak 3 times for each of the games. Yeah. So I'm just going to restore it because it looks like I forgot to delete those settings. Texture filtering. Override that to 16x, and then also change the texture filtering quality to high. I also usually enable vertical synchronization, VSync, yeah. But you don't have to turn it on if you don't like it. What it does is it gets rid of the screen tearing and gives you a nice consistent image. Few things about anti-aliasing. This game is very old, and it pumps out insane frame rates, so it doesn't matter what setting you use, you can go with the highest and it'll still play fine. I've got a GTX 660 and it does all the resolutions fine, even running with dynamic super resolution at the 4K resolution. Dynamic super resolution and virtual super resolutions are technologies from NVIDIA and AMD, which will render the game at a higher resolution than the monitor and then downsample it. Very good, works really well with this game, but some of the graphical heads-up display interfaces, like the compass on objectives, they end up quite small, but it's still very playable. However, it goes a bit beyond what I wanted to cover in this video. It also involves having to configure a custom resolutions. At this point, it's a bit too confusing. But basically, if you're interested in dynamic super resolution or virtual super resolution, you just gotta set the resolution under the section when we cover custom resolutions. Okay, and when we're done, we just cross it off, and that was the first part. Okay, so in this part we're going to look at using the built-in resolutions. So this is for people who either don't want to muck around with changing the config files, who just find it a little bit too daunting or too hard, but there are also benefits playing with the built-in resolutions, and that's, for example, authenticity. If you want to play the game like it was meant to be played in the good old days, then this part is for you. So once again, we right click on the desktop and we go to our driver. The page we need to be on is called Adjust Desktop Size and Position. For AMD users, I'll put in a screenshot of the equivalent page. It has exactly the same functionality. And there are 2 scaling options for built-in resolutions. We can either go with aspect ratio scaling or no scaling. I'll show you what no scaling does first, so make sure this is ticked, make sure the scaling is done on the GPU, and make sure that this is also ticked, and then we just go and press OK. And now we will run the game for the very first time, and we have a look what it looks like and what options we can tweak in terms of the graphics. So we can straight away see that the images are small. It's like a thumbnail with black black bars all around, top, bottom, left and right. And that's pretty much what centered image scaling looks like. It's also called one-to-one pixel mapping or pixel mapped, pixel correct image. Okay, we go to the options. Then we navigate to video, and the first settings we have to tweak is change the texture detail to high and texture filtering to trilinear. And here we have the resolutions. So if we change the resolution, for example, to 1024 by 768 and press apply, you'll see that the image will increase in size. It's now larger, and we can go with the next one, 1152 by 864. And it's even larger, and there's one higher resolution I can use, 1280 by 1024. And for my monitor, I've got a 1920 by 1080 monitor, so 1080p is the highest vertical resolution, so I can't use this one. But those of you who have a high resolution monitor, like a 1920 by 1200 or even 4K or something like that, you can use this resolution. But for me, this is as high as it goes. However, 1280 by 1024 is not a 4:3 aspect ratio. It is 5:4. That means that round shapes, for example, and they're the best giveaway, they're not round anymore. They are vertically stretched, so they're taller than they are wide. And we can also see this here. Here's another round shape. Whereas, if we contrast that with 1152 by 864 and press apply, we can now see this is perfectly round, and so is this shape. Yeah, so 1152 by 864, at least on my monitor, on my computer, is the highest 4:3 resolution. So what are the benefits of this? Basically that you get a one-to-one pixel map, so it's really sharp image. There are no scaling issues or artifacts or anything like that. The downside is that you're losing vertical space with the black bars all around. So I'm gonna set that back to 800 by 600, and then I'm gonna quit the game, and we're gonna look at the other scaling option. So that was this one. And now we look at the other scaling option, which is maintain aspect ratio. So once again, right click on the desktop, NVIDIA control panel, and change this to aspect ratio. The AMD driver has exactly the same settings, so it's straightforward to do it on an AMD card. Okay, we run the game once again. And straight away we can see how big the image is. It's taking advantage of the whole vertical space of our monitor. So no black bars top and bottom anymore. That is a dead giveaway that you're using aspect ratio scaling. Let's go to options, video. Note that the circle again is nice and round. So if we set this to 1152 by 864, at first when you hit apply, it looks the same. But the main difference is that you're working with more pixels, so the resolution is a lot higher and clearer. Still nice and round. However, once again, if we go with 1280, the image once again is vertically stretched, so things are taller than they are higher. It's just the downside of this resolution. Some games actually compensate for that, but this is not one of them. Now in the game, it doesn't matter, but elements like this, for example, will get stretched. So once again, if you like this setting, I would stick with 1152 by 864, unless you've got a high resolution monitor and you can actually do 1600 by 1200. So, but I'm gonna set that back to default before quitting the game and moving on to the next section of the video. So that was this part, and that concludes the section about built-in resolutions. Okay, so in this part we have to talk about custom resolutions. So first I'm gonna reset my graphics driver to no scaling, because this just makes it easier to spot what resolution is actually running. Now, custom resolutions, there are two types of approaches. The first one is for people who prefer an authentic experience and like a 4:3 aspect ratio. but want the benefits of 1-to-1 pixel mapping and also have all the vertical space on the monitor used. So for those, we're going to create a custom 4:3 resolution. In my case, for my monitor, 1440 by 1080. If you've got a different monitor, just leave me a note and I can calculate what resolution it is. You just got to use a tiny bit of math, yeah. But for the majority of people, you probably just want to play it at the 1920 by 1080 widescreen resolution. I asked my brother, for example, and he likes that. Now, downside is that a few elements will be horizontally stretched, yeah, but the game world is actually fine. It's mostly the menus and some other bits and pieces. So I'm gonna start with creating a 4:3 custom resolution. In the NVIDIA driver, you go to change resolution. On AMD, I put in a screenshot of the equivalent page, then click on customize. I've already got one, so I'm just gonna remove that so I can show you what the process is. So we start here, click on customize, make sure this is ticked, and then go create custom resolution. Change the horizontal pixels to 1440. Leave everything else 1080, that's fine, and press test. There's our custom 4:3 resolution, press yes. And the resolution is now available in Windows. So if I right click and go screen resolution, I can actually set my desktop to that resolution. It's not what we're doing right now, but you can see that it works. Okay, so we're done with that. And next, what we need to do is tell the game to either use the custom resolution, the 4:3 custom resolution we created, or the standard native resolution of the monitor. And to do this, I'm just going to refer back to this user here. We have a couple of folders in our game folder. So if you go to GG Games Medal of Honor folder, there are two main TA and main TT, and these refer to adult assault, spearhead, and breakthrough. Each one of these folders has a configs folder with a configuration file. This file only gets created when you run the game. So I have not run spearhead and breakthrough yet, so there's no configuration here. And there's the breakthrough one, yeah. Whenever you create a custom resolution or make any major tweaks, I do recommend that you delete this file and basically start from a screen, from a clean slate, not a screen slate, yeah. So let's start from a clean slate. We're gonna run the game. So this is like, imagine we're running the game for the very first time. And we basically just gonna tweak the settings that are important for us, and without touching the resolution, which we're gonna edit in a configuration file. So we go options, video, and the only things we change is texture detail to high and texture filtering to trilinear. Everything else we leave as it is. Press apply, go back. Don't know if I've got a save game. Okay, there's a save game. I might just delete that. And we're gonna start a new one. Just to start the main campaign. Alrighty, and I believe it already created a... Where is it? Yes, it already created a save game. Perfect. So now we can quit. And what we need to do now is go to our config folder. So in Medal of Honor, what am I talking about? Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, we go to our main configs and we open up this file here. And then you can either grab it from here or from our website. We copy paste all of this. Down here, yeah, and then we just change the custom height or the custom width depending on what we want to do. I'm gonna do the custom 4:3 4x3 resolution first. So the custom height is 1080 and the custom width is 1440. And then we just go File, Save, close that, and run our game once again. Now the game will now launch a little bit faster, and open the console. You just press Escape here, and we now have a pixel perfect 1440 by 1080 screen image. So let's just load that game again. I might just skip the video forward once the game is actually started. Okay, so here we are in the game, and perfect 1440 by 1080 resolution with a correct 4:3 aspect ratio, taking advantage of pixel mapping, one by one pixel mapping, and also using all the vertical space. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna create a save game for when we come back later. And now we're just gonna quit the game. So I've shown you how to do the custom resolution and 4:3, and in order to get our proper widescreen resolution, we just added our config file again, and we just change the custom width to 1920, go File, Save. But there's one more thing here, and I might just put it down here. Every level you need to set the FOV, that's the field of view, by using the console and typing FOV 90. Yep. So let's run the game. So every level we have to adjust the field of view again. So we can see it's nice and widescreen. We can see once again all the round things are now horizontally stretched. So let's just save the game from before. Press continue. Alrighty. So I'm just gonna find a good scene to test this. Yep. So take note of those two walls on the left and the right. And to open the console, press the tilt key. It's just on the top left underneath the escape key. It brings up the console, and then type in FOV space 90 and take note of those two walls. And you can see that the field of view has been adjusted, and now it's a lot more appropriate for widescreen. The downside is you have to do this at every level, so quite a bit annoying, but it is what it is. But the picture quality, I mean, you can look at it, looks pretty mint for such an old game. And if you have all the texture filtering turned on, like I showed to you before, and the anti-aliasing, the image looks really good. There's no blurriness as you look in distance, and there's nothing, no jaggies that shimmer around or otherwise just cause graphical issues. Alrighty, so let's go back out and quit the game, and that concludes this section here. Okay, so I was planning on moving on to tweaking the audio, but I really feel like I should mention dynamic super resolution or virtual super resolution, which is AMD's equivalent technology, because it's so good, and it's basically the ultimate form of anti-aliasing. It's super demanding, so at the 4x factor, it basically costs 4 times the computational power, so your frame rate will get cut to a quarter. But this game is quite old, and all the modern graphics cards can handle it fine. So right click on the desktop, go NVIDIA control panel, and go to manage 3D settings. I can't show you the AMD equivalent because I don't have a card that's new enough to support this technology. It seems that NVIDIA allows older users, or allows this to work on older cards, whereas in AMD you have to have quite a new card. Okay, down here under dynamic super resolution factors, click on that and just set it to the highest one, which is 4 times the pixels. Yeah, for the smoothness, that controls the what's it called? I think Gaussian 17 tap Gaussian filter or something like that. Yep. The smoothness and the sharpness. Put it all the way to left, the sharpest setting. That's fine at this setting, and that's really it. Hit the apply button. Your screen will go blank for a moment, and that's it. That resolution is now available, so I can show that. I can set the resolution on the desktop, and everything will become super tiny. So this is like the same resolution as on a 4K monitor, just rendered first at the 4K resolution and then downscaled. So what we need to do next is go to our config. We open it up and we put in our new resolution. So let me just find the custom height. 1080 becomes 2160, and custom width 1920 becomes 3840. Let's save the game and let's run it. But before we do that, I almost forgot, I still have the anti-aliasing in the profile, and we don't need that. So we're just gonna go use application control. So we don't need anti-aliasing. Well, it probably works, but there's actually no need for that. Okay, so let's run the game. And the dead giveaway for dynamic super resolution working is all the user elements are super tiny, so they're really hard to read, but doesn't affect the gameplay. Well, it does kind of, because some elements on the screen are also very small. So let's load that game. And press continue, and here we are. Yeah. Okay, so it's actually lagging a little bit. Interesting. So seems to be that my GTX 660 is not quite up to scratch on this game. So on the top left we can see that the compact is a little bit small as well, and on the bottom left, on the bottom right, the health meter and how much ammunition we've got. It's actually, all of that is actually really hard to read, but otherwise the image quality is amazing. There's nothing shimmering, nothing flickering, and it's a little step up from using standard anti-aliasing. Alrighty, that's it for this part. Let's desktop. Yeah, so it seems that my computer was not quite able to handle this resolution after all, but let me just double check if the anti-aliasing setting was not applied. No, it's not. So yep, there you go. So it just shows that 4K resolution is actually really demanding, and even on older games, you gotta have something better than a GTX 660. Okay, and this takes us to the last section, tweaking the audio. So let's also start the game, and we're just gonna change the audio settings just before we actually edit the config file. So we go to audio, and two things: change the sound quality to high. That changes the sample rate from 22 kilohertz to 44, and then your speaker setups. Usually leave that at 2 speakers if you want stereo sound, be it headphones or speakers. However, if you're interested in 5.1 surround sound or in virtual surround over headphones, and you've got a Sound Blaster card with Creative Alchemy, change that to surround. I've got that, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Press apply, back, and quit. The next thing we do, we need to run Creative Alchemy. So that's basically a wrapper, basically what happened after Windows XP when Vista came out. 3D audio was only processed in software, so EAX and other technologies wouldn't work anymore. So Creative came up with Alchemy, which translates between old and new and makes old games work with surround sound under Windows Vista 7, 8, 8.1. So we go add, we're adding a new game. I'm gonna call that Medal of Honor Allied Assault. Click on Use Game Path. Navigate to your GG Games folder and Medal of Honor. All the executables are in this main folder, so we don't have to look for any other folders. Select the game, click this button here, and now it's under Alchemy Enabled Games. There's still more to do. You need to go to your Medal of Honor folder, and there's a sound drivers folder in here. And we need to update these drivers. These don't have what we need. You can go to my website, so philscomputerlab.com, go to games, gg.com, and tech reviews and tweak guides, and look for Medal of Honor. Download these drivers. Now I'm gonna put them somewhere on the desktop. There they are. Then let's just open them up and select them and drag them into here. It's just going to replace a few files as well. Yeah. So now we've updated the drivers. We go back to our Medal of Honor folder, main, configs, our config file. And what we need to do here is we need to look for reference to do with the miles fast 2D positional audio. There it is. So it says here miles driver and then miles fast 2D positional audio. And we need to replace this with this thing here, direct sound. Let me just enlarge that a little bit. Direct sound 3D hardware support, and we just copy paste that into here. So now we have replaced what was there before with direct sound 3D hardware support. And that's really it. Now we just go file and save, cross it off. Now I'm using the Sound Blaster X4 MP3. It's basically Sound Blaster through software. Make sure that your speakers, so playback devices, speakers configure is set to 5.1. Then under your SPX Pro Studio, make sure that surround is ticked. I set that to 100% to get the best. Well, let me rephrase that. I like 100%. It gives me the best positional surround sound. And then under advanced settings, make sure this is set to headphones. And that's really it. And we can run the game and we should have some better sound.
Pal, check the door. What was that? I think I heard something. Ambush! Get going!
Thanks. They would have killed me for certain. Stick close to me at all times. Watch out! Oh! Let's get going, Lieutenant.
And that's really it for this video. So, as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Do spread the word, check out my website, philscomputerlab.com, lots of cool things on there. Any questions whatsoever, drop me a line underneath the comments and I'll do my best to help you out.